What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Why We Love PlayStation VR. Sitting across from me this week and every week, Sweet Home Alabama. Lord, I'm coming home to you. It's Pedro.
And sitting across from me, of course, is Brian Paul.
Every week on Why We Love PlayStation VR, we pull out a game out of the PlayStation VR archives. We dust it off, we blow the dust off of it, we smell it, we lick it, we taste it, see if it's tasting any good, and then we tell you how it smells, looks, tastes, and feels. Is it a should we or a shouldn't we? What show were we on?
One of the shows. I don't know.
What game are we? No, can we? I don't know why I started with that. Why? What game did we decide to talk about this week?
This week we're talking about the oh-so-ancient game. Oh, that was almost awful. Home Sweet Home.
Almost awful.
Almost awful.
I feel like, again, that could be the subtitle.
I really just saw that disc flying out of the case towards the camera onto the ground.
Would have been an epic moment of green screening.
Yes.
Home Sweet Home, released on October 16th of this year, 2018.
Is that the closest to launch we've done one of these shows for?
I think we did Firewall like the next day.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, which strangely was a year after it's September 27th, 2017 Steam release date.
Yes.
Which... And there's a big price discrepancy there too. Over on Steam, it's like $16, and is that Thai food?
Yeah, it's Thai food.
It's an awful joke.
Yeah.
Over on Steam, it's like $17, and we got the PlayStation tax over here for it's $30.
Right.
Developed by Yggdrasil.
The World Tree.
Indeed.
Yeah. So this is a little confusing. Their name comes from Norse mythology. Yeah. So.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Cool.
I'm down for this ride.
I'm down with multiculturalism.
Say it one more time.
Yggdrasil
Group Company Limited and published by Mastiff Games, and it's playable in VR and non-VR.
Yeah. And what I thought was interesting was this is their first game. They're a special effects house.
I went to their YouTube channel, and that's all I saw was like little intros and clips and stuff.
Yeah.
But their first game.
Yep. So they do special effects. So they do like add-on to other people's games or videos. It looks like mostly kind of corporate stuff though.
Very corporate stuff.
But yeah, and they were like, you know what, we're gonna make a game, and yeah.
So what kind of game did they make?
Stealth horror, I guess is how I put it.
Sure. I mean, I actually went as far as to say survival horror, but going down the road of like Clock Tower, Rule of Rose, Haunting Ground, or any other obscure PlayStation 2 title you've never heard of, because I feel like true survival horror, like when it first came around, it wasn't really about like going in guns blazing. It was like hiding and being evasive as much as possible and using as little ammo as possible. I think,
isn't there a different I don't know, for me survival horror also means there's a resource you're having to manage while you're doing this, which isn't really, I mean, your resource is you dying.
I'm 100% giving you this because Resident Evil 1 coined the term survival horror in its introduction. So yes, absolutely. I feel like this is like either a subgenre or a step, like one step away from survival horror. But yeah, definitely stealth, definitely horror, and definitely
death is a mechanic.
Death is a mechanic. But Rule of Rose and Haunting Ground and Clock Tower 3 specifically were the ones I was thinking of when I was playing this. As you said, not about health or ammo management.
Right.
Just about hiding, staying out of sight.
Yeah, because there's basically, until about a third of the way through the game, there's really like, if you get caught by the bad guy, you're dead. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, sure.
You do eventually get that little wristband, which lets you live a little bit.
Which Des is selling on eBay for just a couple dollars each.
Not currently.
They say without Parole game cats.
Actually, hopefully by the time this goes up, yeah.
And if you get one and wear it, you get to live a little bit.
Yay!
See. So not survival horror, but that's all right. And this immediately did something to me, I think.
Yeah.
You dive into this game, and the only thing you have for a while is like a flashlight, right? And they're like, this is how you walk, and this is how you turn, and then they tell you how to run, and I'm like, what am I running from?
Yeah.
That's my first thing, and I was like, I just want to hold up a gun and defend myself, like hide behind the gun, and they don't give you that option ever.
Nope.
It's like 5 or 6 hours of just like you are vulnerable.
You are the hide and seek champion of the world by the end of this game.
I wasn't. I died so many times. There was no way I was the hide and seek champion.
Yeah, and one thing I'll say, like, in some ways this was such a breath of fresh air. Like, I do have some criticisms about the game, but you really couldn't interact with much of anything except for the things you were able to interact with, which was, I don't know, maybe a dozen things over the course of the whole game.
It wasn't a lot, yeah.
And the movement controls were very simple. It's DualShock 4 controlled. But you know what? Sometimes keeping it simple makes it okay. This wasn't a buggy piece of crap like some of the stuff we've been playing lately. It was just like, of all the other things to worry about the game, actually having the game work wasn't an issue.
Yes,
at least for me.
For the most part,
yeah.
The DualShock 4 simplifies everything. You're not trying to figure out how to move with no analog stick in a 3D space. I really enjoyed that. It was like here we are. We know how to play video games.
Right.
There's a duck button. There's a flashlight button. It's like I can do this, no problem. Yeah. And so can you, whether you've played games before or not. It's pretty easy. But the little point that I have to make is that when you have things like, there's like a crowbar, and sometimes you have keys.
Yeah.
And then you go over to where you need to use those, and sometimes you have to like kind of look at just the right angle to see the crowbar icon pop up to say, "Oh yes, I want to use that thing here."
Right.
So that's the only
There's a little
kind
bit
of
searching.
Yeah, the only it's a small little thing.
But at no point do you like click on it and click the crowbar, and the crowbar suddenly flies 30 feet behind you.
Nope.
Yeah. So.
No, I had my crucifix the whole time.
I am really still burning about it. Like, actually, even Amanda's still my wife.
Wait, did you just make a Borat joke?
I did.
Do we have to edit that out?
I don't know.
Wow.
But she's like, she's supportive about the channel, but she's not really a gamer. She is like upset on my behalf that I had to deal with the whole crucifix thing. So yeah.
Just be happy you didn't have to pay for it.
No, that's true.
Because a lot of our game cats here, totally paid a lot of money to play a lot of broken games. We're not just specifically calling out The Exorcist.
Yeah.
We paid a lot of money to play a lot of broken games.
Yeah. So in the plus column for this, it is not broken.
It works.
Yeah. There's a little, like you said, a little bit of wonkiness with the targeting sometimes.
Yep.
And good thing you never have to use the targeting when you're under pressure.
Seldom.
Yeah,
right?
seldom. Well, there's one or two sections I'm thinking of, but I guess we can get to that.
Actually, I mean, we can dive right into what you're actually doing in this game.
Sure.
So you wake up and you're somewhere where you're not supposed to be.
Right. You wake up. The game kind of infers that you're waking up from some kind of bender. It was like some crazy party or something. We find out maybe it was less of a party, more of just you getting drunk because you're miserable. But either way, you're waking up and
sounds like a party in my book. Yeah, you wake up and you're somewhere where like it's kind of your house, but it's kind of not.
Yep.
Right. And so and you're like you're just kind of moving through this environment.
Well, no. At first, are you at the house or are you at like the dormy sort of thing?
You wake you're in a dark room next to a bed where you woke up.
Right. Yeah.
And then immediately you seem to be in a dormitory.
Right. Okay.
And so and what you're doing is you're just wandering around trying to find your way, and then like you think you see this girl.
Yep.
And you're following her, and it turns out she's not the girl you thought she was.
Turns out you shouldn't have been following her.
No, she's creepy. She's creepy. She wants you dead.
She does the whole like you're seeing her from behind, and all of a sudden like the neck turns full 180. Okay, this is what we're doing. And then you have to run. Right,
yeah, like immediately. That's the first thing you learn is that when you see an enemy, you have to run. You cannot fight back. And so you run down the hallway, and we're gonna put the pin in the whole stealth thing for a second.
Okay.
And talk about one of the first things that this game does to you in the heat of the moment, which is one of the things we've been begging for like a year. Mm-hmm. It screws with your head. It screws with your sense of place. And so because as soon as you run away from this girl, you run down the hall and open the door that you thought you came from, and there's a brick wall.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And then you turn around because you're like, I have no other option, and there's suddenly a door there that wasn't there before.
Right.
And so you run through that door and you go hide in a locker. And I was like, holy crap, is this what this game is going to do to me for like the next 6 hours? And the answer is yes.
Yeah.
I'm so excited about it.
Yeah, but see, no, did you die at all that first time?
Surprisingly not.
Because I died about half a dozen times before I figured out what the hell was going on. Because I would, like, I kind of like hung out and she sort of does that turn, like, okay, what's going on here? I'm dead. That's what's going on.
He's like,
here.
My name is Dez. I'd like to be friends.
Right.
I don't get scared of scary things, so I have no system in place. There's no fight or flight mechanic in me. I'm just here to hang out.
Actually, I was having this exact conversation with my kids this afternoon because my son, I don't know.
Sometimes it's good to be scared.
Well, yeah, he was like, if you could get rid of any emotion, what would it be? I'm like, well, I was
love.
Well, I said envy, and he's like, oh, I get rid of fear. It's like, no, fear is really important. Fear keeps you safe, keeps you, healthy. It lets you, gives you a warning that you're in a dangerous situation. And I think you nailed it. Because I'm not getting scared in this game. Like, oh, that's interesting. Oh, I'm dead.
Yeah.
Oh.
But it constantly screws through their head. There were so many times that I went into a room, turned around, and was like, wait a minute, this isn't where I just came from.
Yeah.
And that's awesome because for me, I have no sense of direction. And so very frequently these things happened that I didn't even notice. Yeah. But then then they kept happening. And I was like, wait, this is really messing with me, which is amazing because you can play this game in non-VR, but in a VR headset, it feels like the room just changed.
And not only that, like there's some nice detail to the space. Can we just I want to kind of go back to our award show, create a new category just for best audio design, so I can give it to these guys.
Sure.
The sound design in this, and there is a little semi cheesiness with when you kind of alert and when the I don't know. I think at one point they call her Belle, so that's what I'm going to call her. In one of the notes somewhere, okay. When Belle kind of notices you're in the situation, there's this orchestra, strings.
It's the Metal Gear Solid exclamation point.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's the only one that kind of gets a little weird, although it's still terrifying.
If you're listening to the MP3, that's us. There's no siren chasing you.
Yeah. So that's a little much, but just the sound. She's got a box cutter. That's her weapon of choice. Or a box cutter. It's exact knife thing, and she's just kind of constantly playing with it, clicking it open.
And it sounds like the adjustment dial on the back of your PSVR headset.
Yeah, and you're hiding or you're working around, and you just hear it slowly
clicking,
getting closer to you, and farther away.
You can actually I was hiding under a desk. And I could and I was just staring at the wall, basically tracing her.
Yeah.
On the other side of the wall, going, she's right there on the other side of the wall, and I could hear her, and I could actually follow her, even though I couldn't see her. I knew exactly where she was because the 3D sound design was so good.
Yeah, yeah.
It does, I think, though, have the same issue that the Persistence has.
Okay.
Where enemies sound like they're in the room, even if they're in the next room. I experienced that, but I know that wasn't universal.
Yeah, I didn't. It didn't seem as much to me, but yeah, maybe that's. I don't know.
Maybe I turned down my volume.
Right, or maybe it's the headphones you're using.
Maybe.
I'm still using the OG in the box earbuds.
I was actually using those for this game until I just switched over today.
Okay.
So graphically, let's talk about the graphics because we did say that we started to touch on that. I think they're pretty nice. Right?
Yeah.
They do have this kind of low resolution blur to them, and I do think that a lot of the environments, especially the hallways and the stairwells and all the small rooms that connect the bigger areas, they're almost interchangeable. The dormitory looks a lot like the school, which looks a lot like the police station, and it's these white bare rooms with some kind of generic furniture scattered about.
The one that's a real outlier, and I'm going to mention more later when we get into kind of the Des Nugget section, is sort of that old kind of country house.
Yes.
That totally changes everything. It's very different. And the level of detail and love put into that place, it's is this the same game anymore?
Yeah.
Because the other environments are a little generic, but to be fair, they are all government buildings. They all are fairly modern, so they kind of do look generic.
Well, I think that it's mostly the connecting pieces that make it look generic. It's when you get to the bigger spaces, the more defining moments of the game.
Yeah.
The police station has a very distinct look, and especially one of my favorite sections was the art school part of the college you were in, and just paint everywhere, and it was wow, this really brought the game back to life after I was kind of sick of the environments for the last hour or so. So I do think the bigger sections do have a really nice look to them. Sorry. Totally lost my train of thought.
Well, let's talk about they're basically only two enemy types, really.
Yeah.
The only two that you actually deal with. One is Belle, this girl with the X-Acto knife. An X-Acto knife, a box cutter, whatever. And I discovered something.
Yes.
Preta.
Preta, not pronounced Preta.
Prate.
No A sound.
In according to my sources, which we'll talk about in a little bit, at least in Thailand, that creature's name is Prate. That's how you'd say that.
Prate.
Prate.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Prate Vendetta Rising.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if it's the same thing with that game, but yeah, that is, if you've seen the trailers, you see this like sort of giant, these hands, reaching through the walls. That's, I think, the most standout moment to me from the trailer. And yeah, that creature is that's basically it. There's Belle and there's that, and you interact with them, avoid them pretty much the same way, just by hiding so they can't see you.
Okay.
With Belle, you can sort of follow kind of behind her in her blind spot and then dodge out of the way. With the Prey, it's got this one eye which sort of gives this red glow which shows you where it's looking, and just don't be where it's looking.
Yeah. Which actually leads me to one of the very few disappointments I have with this game. When the Prey sees you and kills you, you think this giant monster that's like gonna slam his hand down on you and crush you or that kind of thing, you would think that would be more disturbing. But really, what happens in VR is nothing. It's just it kind of just like you see his face and then it's just kind of the screen fades out.
Right, and reload.
Yeah, I'm like, it's not. I was like, the first time the girl gets you, what's her name?
Belle is one thing she was referred to as.
The first time she gets you, she does this whole like stabbing thing, and I'm like, ooh, that's kind of intense. But then like you see it 100 times, and you're like, that's not intense anymore. So the death screens, I thought, if you ever played the game, and this is again ripped straight out of my review, there's a game called Emily Wants to Play, and it's non-VR, and it really, but for somehow it jumps through the screen at you when you die. When Emily kills you, it is like heart attack inducing. I made Jeremy and Michelle play it, and both of them were like, Jesus, like, that's intense. Like it scares the crap out of you. So like something like that in VR could be really effective. Whereas like the death screens in this were like, being scared of dying would have been way more effective than just being scared of having to redo a section over again.
Well, that's that kind of goes to one of my points. Is the game does a great job of keeping the tension ratcheted up, giving you like bits and pieces that make the story creepy and all that, and getting you this like situation where you're so tense hiding from her, and then you die. Then you do it again. It's still kind of tense. Then you die. Then you do it again. A little less tense this time. Then you die. And you do it again, and it's slowly like, depending on how good or bad you are at this, and apparently I was pretty bad.
I was pretty bad too.
It goes from being tense and emotional and like creepy to frustrating, because like I've just done this section 15 times, and I'm not getting any better at it. So either I'm missing out on something or I'm just bad. But either way, I'm getting a little annoyed. Which that's probably my biggest. So I guess my biggest complaint is if you're bad at it, it's not as good as if you're good at it. But
well, speaking of which, I there's a walkthrough on YouTube where the dude does it in one playthrough, no problems, blast through it, 2.5 hours.
That cannot be on his first try.
No, it can't be.
Yeah.
It was obviously meant to be like a walkthrough tutorial, that kind of thing, or just a helpful video for anyone stuck on a puzzle or something. How long did it take you?
I'd say 5.5, maybe 6.
Yeah, I'm gonna say 6 for me.
Yeah, but I can absolutely see how you could blow through this in 2 hours if you knew how to hide, knew where every hiding place, kind of knew, because she does kind of walk through the same patterns in certain areas. So if you kind of learn her patterns, then you can avoid her more easily. But yeah, so I could see shaving it down for like 2 hours if you're just kind of blowing through it. But
yeah,
but yeah, realistically expect 5 or more.
Yeah, puzzles difficulty.
Not very. I don't think they were particularly difficult. It was very hand-holding. Like we said, there aren't many items you interact with, and if you interact with an item, you'll be using it very soon.
Yeah.
Or if you come up against like, there's something that needs a key card, you'll be finding the next thing you do will be finding that key card. Right. You're not going to do 3 other things, then find the key card, and then go back. The puzzles are very linear in that way, and there were a couple semi-clever ones. There was the one I think in the in the art section, there was the one where you found the different pieces of paper.
Yep, and then use the light board.
Right.
Yep. So that puzzle to me, along with there's one where you have to where you have like a rusty key and you have to like use the solvent to like dissolve the rust.
That's when I was kind of referring to. It's like, okay, there's the puzzle thing you have to figure out, but also she's there.
Yeah.
In the room with you, so you have to like do one thing to make the mixture and then go run away and hide.
Yeah. And
then run back and like is she there? Which I guess is kind of more realistic. Like if you're in a situation where there's a monster and you have to do this multi-step process, they're not going to wait for you to finish the thing.
It's fine. It's and that's kind of my judgment on the puzzles. It's that they're just fine. If you've ever played like a classic like Resident Evil game, like these are ripped straight out of old Resident Evil games. Like they they're okay. They get the job done, and they make you stop and do something in the game. Otherwise, other than just hiding. But they really are the most roundabout way of solving the simple puzzle ever. Yeah. There's one point you have to make an ID card. I was like, can't we just break the thing? Yeah. like seriously, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. The ID card one was a little bit of a stretch.
But I will say that was a memorable point for me, because that was when I was really hiding from her, and I remember her. She was like just on the other side of a bookshelf to me. Yeah. And when she gets really close to you, you hear her clicking off in the distance. Yeah. But when she gets really close to you, I miss you. Yeah, it gets really creepy. Yeah. The audio is just like, she's whispering, but it's the weirdest stuff ever. It's like she's saying nice things, but it sounds evil.
Well, yeah. And so I think that's a good place to start and get into what I really liked about this game and why I think it's really important and interesting. Is this is a Thai game. It's a Thai developer, and this is based off of a lot of Thai beliefs and superstitions and ghosts. Yeah. And this is something I don't have a lot of experience with, and I'm guessing a lot of you don't as well. So it was really interesting seeing, like, we play The Exorcist. We grew up in a Western country with either.
I went to Catholic school.
Right, or Brian went to Catholic school. I'm familiar with Catholic and Christian insignia and things like that. So when we see like an upside down cross or things like that, that has a certain meaning to us. And this is just as steeped in Thai beliefs. So there are all sorts of little signifiers through the whole game that, to the Thai audience, this is important. Like this is the prate is a very specific kind of ghost. And the little offerings, the fact that you have to like make these food offerings and all that, it may just seem kind of random to a Western audience, but that's actually how you deal with ghosts and spirits in Thai belief systems. So I actually, in my research, I found a fantastic blog, blackandyellowotakugamers.com, and there was a blogger there named Minty who is so she was I'm going to get this backwards, either born American and then moved to Thailand, or was raised and she was American born, American of Thai descent, who then grew up in Thailand. I think I got that. I'm sorry, Minty, if I messed that up. And she actually helped, and we were talking at kind of. She had an article that gave a lot of background, and I sort of talked to her to get some more. And so there's tons of little things. Like one of the first things you hear in the game, and I'm gonna put this up to the mic, see if it works, is this sound here. Here we go.
Put it real close. Yep.
Take it now.
It's really there. It's really okay. There.
All right. So that is an animal called a tokay gecko or tokai gecko. And to us, it's like, okay, there's weird background sound. But in Thai horror movies and kind of stories, that's actually a pretty ominous sound. Sort of like the owl hooting in like a cheesy horror movie, but worse. And the game is full of stuff like that. Like the whole, as you go through and explore, you find out that Belle has basically had a spell cast on her. Her to make her stomach.
We're not gonna get.
Okay, all right. Yeah. We're gonna get too much into that. But this whole idea of black magic and spells and hexes and using body parts is really a very kind of core part of Thai cultural beliefs. One thing Minty actually pointed out in her article. So in Thai culture, you have two names. There's your birth name, and then there's your nickname. Your birth name, people don't use. It's kind of bad luck because evil spirits, if they learn your birth name, can actually use that against you and whatnot. So everyone has, and in fact, Minty isn't even her real name. But Tim, she's like, yeah, she was pretty sure that's not his name.
Gotcha.
His name, because Tim is actually, his name is probably Itim, or that's how it's pronounced, which is Thai for ice cream.
What is iCarly Thai for?
I don't know. We'll have to find out.
Probably awesome.
And there's another. I mean, there's full of a bunch of these little things. The string is one last one. So the string that's kind of throughout the whole game, and actually like you go one of the sort of the checkpoints is you go back to your actual apartment. And the first time you go back there, it looks okay. Looks normal.
Yeah.
Then it's a little more disheveled, and there's a couple of these strings. Then each time you get back, it gets worse and worse, and there's more and more of these strings, and the strings kind of cover up the levels. In the Thai Buddhist belief, there's the white strings are like purity and protection. You can either get... Actually, there's a bunch of different colors, but you can get them like blessed by a monk. They'll tie them around your wrist, and it's good luck and protection. They use them to kind of like create like barriers against evil spirits and whatnot.
Okay.
And Minty was saying that actually the fact that the string is red means symbolic of like blood and vengeance. And there was one last bit in Chinese and Korean folklore. There's a whole idea of you and your soulmate, your beloved, the person you're going to marry. There's an invisible red string that connects you to them that can be twisted and tangled but never broken, that will connect you to them forever. So it's just interesting that, without getting too spoilery, like you have both of those meanings kind of in the rope. This is a long way of saying it's really cool. It's really in depth. The developers put so much love and so much of their own culture and personality into it without like hanging a hat on and saying, hey, look, you need to notice this interesting thing.
Well, and that's as you're talking, and I started asking myself questions as you're talking. Like, there's this invisible red string that connects two people, and I'm like, well, what happens if one of those people dies? And I start going, wow, I fucking love this game.
Yeah,
because now I've got like more questions, but but also like recognizing some of the core elements that that kind of got past me.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now. What I will say is that I went into this game without doing any research. I played the game not knowing anything, and actually didn't know anything until you just told me. And I kind of, people always say that people fear what they don't understand.
Yes.
And or that ignorance breeds fear. All this stuff, right? And I got to say that like going into this game and seeing the red string everywhere and being like, well, that's obviously some kind of like Thai ritual or Thai something of Thai mythology and this or that. And I was like. It kind of made it extra creepy for me because it's one thing to be like, oh, hey, there's an upside down cross. I get what that means.
Right.
But when there's all this like imagery where you're like, I don't understand this.
Yeah.
And I'm scared already.
Right. Is that a good or a bad thing? I don't know.
Exactly. I'm like, should I worship at this altar or should I run away from it?
Right.
Like, so for me, it made it actually extra scary to not understand all of this stuff. But as you're talking and I'm like starting to like learn more about the game, it's really satisfying.
Yeah.
So you can really appreciate this game on a couple different levels, depending on how much of this you understand.
And one thing also Minty did say was, let me get her quote on it, like the house we talked about that actually is kind of what she called it is a country house basically, and she said it felt like she was back in Thailand. It was like that accurate to the kind of house you would find outside of the city. Nice. And this was kind of an older person's house anyways, and she said it was just like exactly what you would expect to see if she was there.
That's awesome.
And just one other little thing from Minty, she did give me some recommendations. If you like this story, if you like what's going on here, it does pull a lot from Thai horror movies, and there was two she recommended. One called Phobia 2. It's a horror anthology series.
Okay.
And there's actually a chapter in this one about a prate, and another one about high schoolers hexing each other.
Nice.
So it's pretty much right in here.
Yeah,
and another one called Art of the Devil that has a lot to do with Thai black magic. So thank you, Minty, for the recommendation.
Thank you, Minty. Yeah. Also, Phobia 2 is streaming somewhere because I've been on because we've been celebrating the Halloween season all month long. I've been going on Netflix and Amazon Prime and Hulu as much as possible to see any horror movie that I can find. And Phobia 2 is on one of those.
Okay.
And so now I need to go back and like actually watch because I was like, oh, I've never seen Phobia 1. Screw it. We're down.
And there's I do like again going into your like this whole all this is scary. Like there is tons of graffiti and like the Thai written language is such a cool looking language, but they don't translate all of it. They'll translate some things. Like you'll look at some things, it'll translate it for you, and it's like. You see this graffiti scrawled, and like, man, I wish I knew what that said. And so my mind is just making it say, like, this is going to say something awful. Yeah. And maybe it's, maybe it's just like, go Railers or something, but...
Pretty sure it's not go Railers.
It's pretty not sure. Yeah.
So we've been basically, for the most part, praising this game from start to finish. There is something we need to criticize very, very harshly. And so without spoiling the ending, we're going to tell you what the very last thing you see is. I promise you this isn't a spoiler. It's just disappointing. It's a to be continued screen.
See, I was just going to say, you know what? Once the point of view of your character changes, let's say that, just stop playing the game. Yeah, just stop there. You beat the game, you're good. Because it does. It's just got this ending that comes out of nowhere, which even in and of itself, like you said, isn't necessarily a bad thing.
No,
because sometimes horror movies and some of the really best ones just end, bang, stop, cut to black.
I actually enjoyed everything from beginning to end. I didn't mind the ending at all. But when you rip the player out of the experience to say to be continued in chapter 2, don't do that. Just announce that Home Sweet Home 2 is coming.
Right.
And it'll be like, oh, good, a continuation.
Yeah.
We get to see what happens.
Yeah, it just basically says that no, this isn't finished yet.
Yeah.
And it just leaves you like.
And don't. So many people are like, well, I'm not going to play this till episode 2 comes out or chapter 2 comes out. It's not like that, right? This isn't like The Exorcist chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This isn't like an incomplete game. This is a complete game. It is a full experience from start to finish.
Yeah. And
they're just basically saying, don't worry, sequel's coming. but they did it in the worst possible way.
Yeah, it is such a gut punch because I'm gonna say I was really enjoying this game. Yeah. There are frustrating parts. I mean, you gotta be real comfortable with hanging out in lockers because you're going to be doing a whole lot of it.
Well, yeah, I think we're just going to start retreading the conversation we already had. So, should we just rate it?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. So our rating system is pretty simple. It's just 3 little numbers. 1 is you have to buy this. If you have a PSVR, this has got to be in your library. It's kind of just the best of what's available for the system, and pick it up. 2 is. Yeah, sure. Why not? If it's on sale or if it's in the genre you particularly like, absolutely grab it. You know what? It's not going to hurt you. And 3 is no. Do not buy this game. Friends don't let friends buy crap. We need to vote with our wallets and tell developers that we deserve better. So 1, 2, or 3. What do you think?
Halloween's over, right? We did.
Sad.
Yeah, we did The Door last week, and we were like, well, I guess that kind of does it for our scary game stuff. Mm-hmm. And we're like, and then this came around, and we're like, we need to do one more. Right, because this is something special. People complain all the time. There's too many horror games on PlayStation VR, which whatever. Like for me, I'm like, keep them coming. Like you know what? Just get rid of RPGs altogether. I'll take all horror. It's fine. Get rid of racing games. I'll take all horror.
We could take a break on wave shooters.
Get rid of all wave shooters. We just want horror. That's me, obviously, very specifically. This is my favorite genre of game. So I think you guys obviously know to keep that in mind when I rate games because I love this kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But to address the people who say there's too many horror games in VR or on PlayStation VR specifically, sure, there's a lot of them, but this takes that haunted house formula, the haunted house simulator of Paranormal Activity or Don't Knock Twice, and it adds gameplay mechanics. It adds a game. It adds puzzles. It adds real fear.
Yeah.
And like we talked about how it kind of screws with your head, and the rooms change when every time you turn around. You're like, what just happened? This is a game where I would have to take off the headset and convince myself to move forward. I feel like I say this all the time, but this really, there were moments where I was like, I just have to stop and remind myself that this is a game. And then when I put the headset back on, I did something I never done in any game prior to this.
What's that?
Run straight into danger because I was like, I don't know what to expect, so I'm just going to do it and clench and get it over with, and then see where the enemies were, and know what to expect. So when I died, I could go back and be like just a little calmer. Right. Knowing that like I kind of know she's going to be there or this is going to happen over here, but I just like run straight into danger and just brace for impact, like kind of like a big coward. I need to know what's going to happen, so just show me. And so that's something I'd never done before. And when I was doing that, I was like, this is real fear.
Yeah.
And so that's why this gets a 1 for me. It's $30 and it lasts about 6 hours. And so far, I've never played anything like this in PlayStation VR before.
Yeah. I'm gonna say the shocker from Des on a horror game, this is a 1. I think what this game does better than pretty much any game I've played on the system, the word I'm thinking is tension.
Yeah.
You are never safe, right? Like literally anything can happen at any time. And almost every other game we've talked about, we played for the system, there are times when you can just take a break.
Yeah.
And just like, okay, I know, because I've played games before, because I know horror movie tropes, I know that this time right now, I can take a break and be okay. This game plays with that. Mm-hmm. There'll be times you'll think, oh, I'm in a safe section, right? I'm in, okay, I just got away from this situation. I know the next situation is probably going to be happening, so I'm safe now. Then freaking hand comes through the wall. And it just keeps that. And that's not to say like stuff is happening all the time, because it's not.
No.
There are times when you are actually safe, but you can never relax. You can never let down your guard the whole time, which to be able to keep that up for 5.5 hours is awesome. Now, it does take a little ding because it is very hard, and you're going to be dying a lot in those times where that tension does kind of get ratcheted down, because okay, well, now I know I'm dying, I know what's happening here, and I have to go through that over and over again. So that's not so great. But the fact that it is so lovingly dedicated to these people, these developers sharing their culture, the things that scare them specifically, it's so rooted in a real place. And it's just so well done. That is a one. It's it's gonna join like the very
motion sickness. I totally forgot. This is full locomotion.
Yeah, it is full locomotion. I think because you're just constantly hiding so much.
Yeah.
That kind of. There was a little bit of an issue with me.
Okay.
But it was manageable. But I think that might be more because there's really no time. You're just moving a long time, without having to stop and take a break and hide. So that may be more of because of the way you have to play the game.
Sure.
So yeah, there's a little bit of not greatness, but
you managed to get through it.
I did manage to get through it. Yep.
We're very proud of you.
Yeah, I would say if you are really sensitive to motion sickness, this may not be the best choice. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited for this game. I'm excited for everyone to play this game. That's why we covered it so early. The developers are coming probably by the time this episode airs. There's going to be a patch out that's supposed to improve enemy AI. There's supposed to there's one puzzle where you kind of have to be a little close to see it, but that's supposed to be fixed.
Oh, that is one weird thing.
It's all
there's the journal thing. I don't know if it happens.
Oh yeah,
which you almost never use in the game anyways.
Almost never.
Well, I don't know why it's there, but when you open it up, it's here.
It's very close to your face.
It's a little jarring at first.
Yeah, but these are small things that during a half an hour, 35-minute review discussion, we didn't even bring up because they're almost irrelevant.
Right. Did you even use it?
I don't really remember using it now. But This is a fantastic game, and I really expect that we're going to see this one on next year's PlayStation VR Awards show in the category of Best Horror Game, and it's going to be a tough one to beat. I'll tell you that.
It really will be. It really will be. That's the thing. It is so. I think the reason we see so many horror games, it is so easy to scare people in VR because you're so immersed. But they're not taking the easy way out. It's not cheap jump. Was it the Little Box a couple weeks ago? I went on my rant about cheap jump scares and how I think it's lazy. They do use jump scares, but it's not cheap and lazy. They earn it because they have that tension ratcheted up the whole time, and it's just, it's super well done. Yeah.
That's it. So that pretty much does it for another episode of Why We Love PlayStation VR. In the comments below, obviously we want to know what you thought of this game. I know a bunch of you already played it, and are a bunch of you going to play it now because you've watched this episode. Also, what are the games you want us to talk about?
Yeah.
Halloween season is now officially, sadly, over. Yeah. And we've got a small list of games that we're going to dive back into and have review discussions on, but we always want to hear your thoughts, figure out what you want us to talk about.
And I will try to remember to leave in the comments below a link to the original blog post that I read from Minty. There was so much information I got from her, we could have done a whole episode just on kind of her background, the stuff she shared with me. So super huge thanks to her. But check out the link there below, and I'm going to throw a link to some of those movies as well.
Should we do a Litterbox episode about that?
I don't know. Maybe.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. All right, for another episode of Why We Love PlayStation VR, I'm Brian Paul.
I'm Des.
And we'll see you next week.